The internet promised connection. The dark web promised secrecy. But in the shadows of the digital world, some sought something darker: murder. Besa Mafia wasn't the first to offer hitman for hire services online, but it became the most infamous. Their site looked like a black market storefront. Menus, prices, reviews. A kill in the US? $5,000. Extra for guaranteed accident. Bitcoin made it simple. No names, no paper trail. Just send crypto and wait. Or so they thought. When Minnesota woman Amy Allwine was found dead in her home, investigators were baffled. A perfect life. A perfect crime scene. But the killer was closer than anyone imagined. And the hit had been ordered online. That client was Stephen Allwine, Amy's husband, a church elder, and an active user on Besa Mafia. FBI agent Jonathan Holden later said, "He thought Bitcoin made him invisible. He didn't realize we were already watching." Through fake profiles and sting operations, the FBI traced the payment trail, the IP, the browser fingerprint. Stephen Allwine wasn't just caught, he was archived. He's now serving life without parole. And Besa Mafia? It was a honeypot, a fake murder-for-hire service. Run by a scammer, exposing real intentions. Not all who clicked submit were arrested, but every message was saved. Every sick fantasy logged. The web remembers everything. Behind usernames, the truth seeped through. People didn't just want others dead. They were willing to pay for it. Because anonymity doesn't erase desire. It only feeds it. Besa Mafia operated under the illusion of professionalism. A clean interface, instructions on how to order a hit, even a customer service contact for follow-ups. But what drew law enforcement in was the volume. Dozens of requests. Some with names, addresses, photos. A man in Florida asking for a coworker's death over a promotion. A woman in Poland requesting an accident for her sister. A teenager from Canada listing a classmate's schedule. Most never saw any action. Because Besa Mafia was a trap. It was run by a Romanian scammer named Yura, who had no intention of killing anyone, only collecting payments. But that didn't make the requests any less real. FBI special agents embedded themselves into the darknet forums. They posed as hitmen, they waited, and they watched. In many cases, the payments were traceable. Despite the illusion of privacy, blockchain leaves a trail. Stephen Allwine used multiple aliases. He routed his crypto through tumblers, services designed to obfuscate funds. But the FBI's forensic crypto team unraveled it. In court, the evidence painted a damning portrait. His obsession with a woman outside his marriage, his desperation to get rid of Amy, and a digital footprint leading straight to murder for hire. A jury took just 6 hours. Life in prison. But what if Besa Mafia wasn't a scam? What if the next site isn't a honeypot? There are hundreds of listings. Some are jokes, some are traps, and some we may never find out. Because the dark web doesn't sleep. It just reloads. Some dark web users believed they were untouchable, hidden by layers of encryption, proxies, and digital masks. But the truth is more sinister. Law enforcement agencies weren't just reactive, they were inside. Operation Wired Justice, a lesser-known joint task force, infiltrated darknet contract killing forums for over 18 months. They didn't just observe, they engaged. One agent under alias Night Reaper posed as an assassin. He negotiated with over 40 different clients. Some never followed through. Some backed out when the price went up, but 6 transferred full payment. Every one of those clients was arrested, not for conspiracy, but for intent. The law doesn't always need a body. Sometimes the plan is enough. In one case, a man tried to hire a killer for his business partner. His motive? Insurance money and full control of the company. He was caught before a single shot was fired. But his email, his payment, his messages? Enough to charge him with attempted murder. The judge said, "The digital footprint is your signature, sir. Permanent and damning." As more operations took shape, sites shut down. Some admins fled. Others were unmasked. Not hardened criminals, but teenagers, scammers, and opportunists playing God behind a screen. But every dark web user leaves a trace. Tor hides your IP. It doesn't hide your soul. The Besa Mafia case became a symbol, a blueprint, and a warning. Just because you're anonymous doesn't mean you're alone. The internet was supposed to democratize access. Instead, it decentralized evil. When tools for privacy fall into desperate hands, morality becomes optional, a setting turned off. Forensic analyst Karen Dwyer testified that even deleted messages on the dark web can be reconstructed through RAM snapshots and session storage. People think when they close the browser, the crime disappears. But data is a phantom. It lingers. Investigators found thousands of emails in Allwine's backups, contingency plans, alternate targets, and repeated attempts to find a better deal. He'd tried multiple dark web services before settling on Besa Mafia. This wasn't a moment of rage. It was premeditation. By proxy. And this is what made Besa Mafia terrifying. Not because it worked, but because it didn't have to. It created a mirror to reflect back the worst of us. Every message, every transaction. It's not just evidence, it's a confession. It started with a libertarian dream. An anonymous marketplace free from government control. But freedom proved profitable. Silk Road was the first. A digital bazaar where you could buy anything, fake IDs, forged documents, and most of all, drugs. Lots of drugs. Its founder, Ross Ulbricht, used the alias Dread Pirate Roberts. He believed in free markets. He ended up a kingpin. By 2013, Silk Road had over 100,000 customers. Each transaction encrypted, each delivery untraceable. And then it vanished. Ross Ulbricht was arrested in a San Francisco library. His laptop still open, the admin panel still logged in. They called it a victory. But it wasn't the end. It was just the start of the Empire Wars. AlphaBay took Silk Road's place and multiplied it. Over 400,000 users. Hundreds of millions in sales, anonymity, efficiency, a drug trade without borders. Then came Operation Bayonet, a global sting. FBI, Europol, Thai Narcotics Bureau. In July 2017, AlphaBay's alleged founder, Alexander Casses, was arrested in Bangkok. He died in custody days later. A suspected suicide. But the battle didn't end there. In 2020, global forces struck again. Operation Disruptor, 179 arrests, seizures in Germany, the US, the Netherlands, and more. Cash, crypto, guns, pills. The dark web was cracking. But the question remained, was it broken or just splintered? Silk Road wasn't just a website. It was an ideology, a test of what happens when trust is outsourced to code, and community replaces conscience. Ulbricht saw himself as a digital Robin Hood, but prosecutors saw something else, a drug lord. Over 1.2 million transactions were processed on Silk Road before it fell. Everything from cannabis gummies to cyanide. Behind every purchase was a story. A user in Utah ordering opioids after an injury. A teenager in Glasgow buying Xanax to sell at school. A nurse in Pennsylvania addicted and hiding. The supply chains were invisible, but the deaths were not. In court, federal agents testified to overdoses linked directly to Silk Road orders. One package, one pill, one funeral. Ross Ulbricht received 2 life sentences, plus 40 years. No parole, no appeal granted. But empires don't end with a king. AlphaBay wasn't idealistic. It was optimized. It offered escrow, customer service, even vendor rankings. A dark Amazon, perfected. Cases, known online as Alpha02, flaunted his wealth. Luxury cars, Bitcoin mansions, vanity domains. What took Silk Road years. AlphaBay built in months. By the time they traced him, AlphaBay was generating over $600,000 a day. But something changed. Operation Bayonet wasn't just about taking down AlphaBay. It was about warning every other market. You're being watched. After AlphaBay fell, a void opened. Others rushed in. Dream Market, Wall Street Market, White House Market, each one promising better encryption. Each one claiming to be the last untouched corner. But none lasted. The FBI, DEA, Interpol. They weren't just tracking vendors. They were watching users, harvesting metadata. Running reverse honeypots, one undercover agent said, "We weren't trying to stop the supply. We were studying the behavior." It wasn't just drugs. These markets sold malware, hacking tools, credit card dumps. Everything needed to build a criminal ecosystem. The tech was evolving too. Vendors used PGP encryption. Buyers routed through Tor-and-I 2P. Payments mixed with Monero, making tracing nearly impossible. But patterns emerged. Agents noticed predictable peaks. Orders rose before holidays. Shipments matched postal traffic surges. That's how they caught Perfect High, a major vendor shipping fentanyl disguised as vitamin samples. He used USPS drop points, decoy addresses, and burner phones. But his mistake? A return label typo. Tracked, tagged, taken down. Disruptor was the culmination of the surveillance era. Over 500 kilograms of drugs seized. Nearly $7 million in cash and crypto recovered. And yet, the listings return. The usernames shift. The addresses change. But the product? It never really disappears. You can shut down a server. But not the demand. Experts now call it the whack-a-mole effect. Every takedown spawns 2 more. Markets decentralize. Vendors fragment, buyers adapt. Today's dark web operates like a whisper network. Invite-only forums. Multi-sig escrow. Decentralized hosting on blockchain backbones. The next empire may not even be on the dark web. It may hide inside the regular web, obscured by code, protected by chaos. Silk Road was the beginning. AlphaBay was the escalation. Disruptor was the retaliation. But the war? It's still on. The darkest corners of the dark web are not marketplaces. They're archives of suffering. This is not about drugs, not about money. This is about monsters. In 2017, South Korean authorities uncovered something unimaginable, a site called Welcome to Video. It hosted over 250,000 videos, everyone depicting child exploitation. The site was crude but effective. Users paid in Bitcoin, and they paid often. Nearly 400,000 downloads, over 1,000 paying users, some of them teachers, clergy, government employees. But this wasn't just about the content. It was about the infrastructure. The site was hosted on servers across multiple continents, encrypted forums, fake login shields, a labyrinth of proxies. It took a coalition, FBI, NCA, Korean police, and Europol to breach it. And when they did, they found something worse. Some of the footage was recent. Some involved children who were still missing. Through digital forensics, they recovered metadata, clocks in the background, electrical sockets, wall paint. Every detail became a clue. One child was identified by the sound of birds, a species only found in one region of the Philippines, another by a streetlight visible through a torn curtain. One by one, they were found. Not all alive. Behind the username Captain Black was Jong Woo-sun, a 23-year-old IT graduate. He ran the site from a room no larger than a closet. No aliases. No operational security. He used his real name to register the server. What allowed it to grow wasn't his skill, but the apathy of the internet's gatekeepers. Hosting companies overlooked red flags. Cryptocurrency exchanges ignored suspicious flows. Nobody wanted to look too closely, until the data was leaked. One IP matched a suspect in the UK, another, a fugitive in Brazil. Yet another, an American contractor with a military clearance. Operation Thunderstorm mobilized across 38 countries. 130 children were rescued. 337 people were arrested. Accounts were frozen. Devices seized. And still, some are missing. Unlike many darknet sites, Welcome to Video wasn't hosted in the shadows. It sat right on the clearnet, unlisted, but not invisible. Digital investigator Daniel Alphen said it best. It wasn't just what the site hosted. It was how many people looked the other way. Alphen would later die in the line of duty, killed while serving a warrant in a related case. The pain behind these crimes cannot be described. But the bravery of those fighting them? That deserves to be remembered. 2 years earlier, another takedown shocked the darknet world. Playpen, a child abuse forum hidden on Tor with over 150,000 members worldwide. To infiltrate it, the FBI did something unprecedented. They seized the site and ran it. From a government-controlled server in Virginia, agents watched in real time as users logged in, uploaded, commented. For 13 days, the FBI operated Playpen to deploy malware, a network investigative technique, to de-anonymize users behind Tor. It was controversial, but effective. Over 1,300 IP addresses were collected, 900 leads issued, dozens of arrests made in over 40 countries. One was a school principal, another a youth counselor, one ran a foster care home. But this wasn't just an arrest operation, it was a rescue mission. Analysts watched faces, rooms, patterns. One girl was located by a floor tile seen in several frames, the same tile used in a specific motel chain. Another from a unicorn sticker on a wall. A model sold only in Canada. Each frame, a fingerprint. But there was a cost. The ethics of running the site haunted prosecutors. Evidence was dismissed in some courts. Defense attorneys questioned the reach of government surveillance. Justice isn't always clean. There are stories from these cases that never make headlines. Agents who retired early, not from injury, but from the images burned into memory. Some investigators required therapy. Others simply stopped talking. Dr. Lena Whitmore, a trauma psychologist who worked with forensic teams, once said, "They carry the weight of what the victims couldn't speak. The silence becomes its own scream. And the survivors? Some now speak. Some stay silent forever." One girl, now 19, stood before her abuser, a man arrested via Playpen. She said, "You filmed my pain. Now watch me survive it." These are not just operations, not just investigations, They are salvations, wrenched from hell. As the footage was decrypted, analyzed, archived, a new network rose. Not of criminals, but of protectors, Interpol, local law enforcement, nonprofits, survivor advocates. The dark web didn't end, but neither did the hunt. This is not a story of justice completed. It's a story of justice pursued.